Good morning, tech experts, freelancers, and creatives all over the Philippines. My name is Apple David, your resident Tao Crowd ambassador. So how are you guys doing? I hope you are all healthy and keeping safe. And just a friendly reminder, if you are going out, make sure to wear your face shield and your face mask. So what do we have for today? A quick refresher. Ano nga ba ang Tao Crowd? Well, Tao Crowd is the fastest growing freelancer network for creatives here in the Philippines, from Manila to Davao to Baguio. It is for Filipinos by Filipinos. And you know what? The two best things about joining up is that number one, we are giving out 20 gigs every week to our Tao Crowd Slack channel with zero project fees. And number two, you can earn health insurance while you are in here too. Isn't that great, diba? I guess yung mga iba sa inyo tumatangu-tangu na dyan, totally agreeing with me. And so again, what do we have for today? Today is our very first Tao Tuesday. So every month, we will be sharing with you tips and techniques para sa mga freelancers na katulad nyo. And also, I'd like to remind all of you that we are streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. So I'd like to say hi and welcome to everyone who signed up and are tuned in right now. So very quickly, let me share with you an interesting trivia na alam nyo ba, we are getting bigger. Our community is getting bigger. Meron tayong 3 new partners who just recently joined our ranks. And with that, I would like to greet our latest Tao Crowd writers, developers, and designers with this short video. Panoorin natin. On behalf of Tao Crowd, I'd like to welcome you to our family. And so for today, we are joined by 7 speakers from August 99 and Agent Image. So joining us right now are you are wondering who exactly are these companies. And let's start with August 99. August 99 is a leading tech incubator live streaming here at Loft Co-working in Pasig, Manila, while Agent Image is a premier digital marketing company focusing in real estate that is based in Los Angeles, USA. And for today's topic, we have the VIP treatment, building rapport with US clients and more. Interesting, huh? What a nice topic for our very first Tao Tuesday. So right now, how about we ask some of our speakers to join the conversation? Let me ask Tiger and Rachel, care to share with us what is this topic all about at bakit nga ba importante ito para sa mga freelancers dito sa Manila? Tiger?
Great. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tiger Bitanga. I'm the CEO of August 99. So the topic, it's building rapport. It's everything, really. It's your brand with somebody. It's their perception of you. It can get you out of a lot of situations if you have good rapport. It gets you that much closer to your goal, whether you're in front of a client, whether you're in front of your manager. If you're in front of a policeman, it can get you out of a ticket, right? So it's things like that. And just sharing a little bit of one story. For example, if you're in customer service, when you have good rapport, people will always come back to you. They're gonna ask for you by name, right? And like in our business, for example, we have an amazing customer service team, and there's always one person that stands out. I see a stream of testimonials, right? And he might be watching today, but his name is Ross, and he's constantly getting these comments that says, "Wow, Ross provided this level of service, or he solved this problem." And for me, that's a great example of somebody who has built good rapport, right? Now, if you're a freelancer, rapport is really the difference of you getting one gig versus building a long-time relationship with the client. So that's my definition. Rach, what do you think?
Hey guys, my name is Rachel Demesa. I am creative director for August 99, and I'm also a group executive for Design Hub. But just to jump on what Tiger said about rapport, that's definitely right. It's a communication skill and a professional skill that you can take throughout your career. It's especially important, especially like as a Filipino freelancer, and when you're kind of just starting out in your career and you're not sure how to approach certain things, or if you're kind of overwhelmed by the concept of having a VIP client, that can be such a big thing. But with certain tips and tricks and techniques, you can actually gain the confidence to approach new projects with a professional flair. So basically, it helps you avoid the rookie mistakes that can be quite embarrassing. So rapport has lots of components to it, and we'll kind of break it down in our webinar today.
Thank you very much, Tiger and Rachel. We will hear more from you in just a little bit. But for our viewers, if you are a freelancer and is looking forward or is wanting to turn a one-time gig into a lifetime client, I tell you, this is the perfect webinar for you. And I am sure lahat kayo looking forward na to learning paano nga ba masusustain, o how can you build lasting relationship with your current or future clients, right? So, in-invite namin ang core team ng Agent Image, an award-winning digital agency in the US, to share with you their best practices today. With more than 2 decades in the business, Agent Image has helped high-end realtors, including cast members of TV shows like Million Dollar Listings and Selling Sunset. And we will be talking about how to build a successful relationship or building rapport with clients who have the highest expectations, tulad na lang ng mga kliyente ng Agent Image. And hopefully, we answer 2 very important questions. Number 1, how can you better communicate with VIP clients? And number 2, how do you keep your clients engaged? For these questions and more, let me turn you over to Julian.
Thank you, Apple. I am here at the Casterly Conference Room at Loft, and joining me virtually are the Agent Image core team members. Hi, guys. Would you like to introduce yourselves to everybody?
Hi, my name is John Crabb. I'm the co-founder and president of Agent Image. And what do? I pretty much wear a lot of hats. Everything from coordinating with the sales team for all sorts of marketing, lead gen efforts, working with all of our VIP clients, very close hand in hand with them, and pretty much handling a lot of day-to-day operations along with Luigi and Tiger.
Hi, my name is Luigi Amante. I'm the Chief Operations Officer for the Design People and Agent Image.
Hi there, my name is Desiree. I'm the Vice President of U.S. Business Operations for Agent Image. I have multiple roles within the company that range anywhere from ensuring all departments are operating smoothly, to day-to-day office management and human resources management. You'll also find me coordinating or partaking in our social media marketing, conferences, and various client-facing activities.
Hi, I'm Brian Shore, Vice President of Business Development here at Agent Image US office. One of my many functions with Agent Image is assisting in the management of all reserve and VIP clientele.
It's awesome to have you guys here. Thank you for joining us, John, Luigi, Desiree, and Brian. So let's get right on to our topic. When we talk about good customer service or VIP level customer service, the first thing that comes into mind really is excellent rapport. Now, my first question goes to John. You handle hundreds of clients every month. Now, how does building rapport come into play when you have that many clients? And for our tech professionals and digital creatives out there, how important is building rapport in their line of work?
For this question, how important it is to build rapport for a client, and as the question, states, you're dealing with so many clients in a given month. How do you do it? To me, I think the most important thing is to establish connection with the person, and again, listening to them, sort of really keeping an uptick in your voice, keeping a really positive attitude always, because whether you're talking to 100 different people in a month, they want to feel like they're the only person you're talking to, right? So it's how do you really let them know you're engaged with them, you're paying attention to everything they have to say, and you genuinely care. That's the thing. Regardless of the client, whoever I talk to, no matter what they're doing with us, what they're building with us, how major or how minor of an item, I treat everybody the same.
That's actually a good way of putting rapport into perspective, John. Thank you for that. Now, how about some practical tips when building or if wanting to build better rapport with clients? Now, I think this question goes to our team over to Manila. What do you think, Apple?
Yes, Julian, I think it's best to ask Tiger. Tiger, what are the best practices you use to build lasting relationships with your clients throughout the years?
Yeah. Thanks, Apple. I think, number one, we've had clients going on for as long as 20 years already. So I would say if it was the number one thing, it would be consistency. Kind of like a restaurant, you have to make sure that you're delivering the same level of service every time. And it really comes down to the little things. When I say consistency, it's making sure that you're getting back to people on time, that you're always delivering on expectations. It's never just one huge event. It's a lot of small things, right? And that ultimately builds your brand. And whoever's in front of that client remembers that brand, and you're able to make mistakes because you've built that level of consistency. One of my favorite books, for example, is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And there's this one part in the book where he talks about deposits, bank deposits. And that's really your customer relationship. Every time, every interaction, you're depositing a centavo, right? And when you make a mistake or have a negative experience, it's actually a huge withdrawal, So you have to have a lot of little events that make up their perception of you. And when you're able to do that, you can build a long-lasting relationship with your clients. Rach, I know you've had some of the same experiences, but what do you think?
I definitely agree with the consistency bit. That's something that clients always look for whenever they come back to you for more business or more projects. I would also say having like a high standard for the work that you deliver. That's very important in like a long-lasting relationship with a client. It's not okay to just kind of slack a little bit here and there. They always want the top quality work from you. So definitely being a reliable resource for them, and also treating your client as like a personal investment. Like Tiger said, it's like the little things that add up. So you can almost position it like feel like it's your own project, feel like it's something that's also your business. And hopefully by embracing that mindset, that'll translate into the better communication with your clients.
So for our viewers, I hope nagtitake down notes kayo. For Tiger, it's consistency, and for Rachel, it is setting high standards for your work and at the same time for yourself and treating your projects as your own. Now it's time to go back to Julianne.
All right, solid tips on building better rapport there. Now, I hope you guys who are watching took notes because I know I did. But if we become realistic about it, obviously no two clients are the same, right? Especially when you're dealing with US clients. You've got there your East Coast clients and your West Coast clients. Now, my next question actually would be about these particular clients. Is there any difference in personalities, and how do we best communicate with each one of them? Why don't we ask Des and then Brian after?
This is probably a generalization, but I would say that the East Coast clients will move a bit faster, faster pace in communication. Not necessarily in back and forth communication, but in the actual conversation. They're more likely to want to get to the point, skip the pleasantries, let's talk business. When I think of the East Coast, I'm thinking of New York, and they always have some place to be. They're moving fast, talking fast, walking fast. It's not necessarily a rude thing, it's more of a culture and business thing because their time is money. Now, I was born and raised in Los Angeles, so I know things are a little bit more laid back on the West Coast. Maybe it's the beach or the weather, but we aren't as fast paced. So more chit chat and friendly conversation before getting down to business is more common. Again, these are all generalizations, so take it with a grain of salt. I would try to feel out your clients with these things in mind, but don't assume that this is everyone.
There's 100% a general difference with attitude and personality when it comes to East Coast and West Coast clients. You'll likely experience a little bit more pushiness and higher expectations with regard to time when dealing with an East Coaster. You'll typically find that everything they do is faster with the way they talk, correspondence, and can even be faster to get upset. So always set proper expectations and deliver on time. While I'm not saying you'll never run into any of this with a West Coast client, in general there tends to be a little bit more laid back approach to the overall West Coast culture. Obviously each situation will be unique. Just remember to set proper expectations, deliver results on time, and always communicate effectively no matter what.
We have our Agent Image team members from the Philippines joining us this morning. Hi, guys. I hope you're enjoying the discussion. Now, I'm sure a lot of them can relate to dealing with U.S. clients with their different personalities. But are there any specific characteristics or maybe skills that they must possess in order to complement an Agent Image client?
I think, art directors, what we look for are people who can be very creative. I think commercial art is very different from just, artists who kind of make stuff for themselves. Commercial art, you help people bring their ideas to life regardless of what the idea is. So it may not be your style specifically. So I think one of the things that are important for our art directors is being able to almost be a chameleon and just making what other people's ideas, just making them look good, and just making them as professional as possible, and making them look as beautiful as possible. And that, I think, in essence, is commercial art, right? When somebody asks us to do a logo, it's really not from what we want, it's what they want, and we just make it look super good. Same with designs. We use our best practices, the things that we should do for SEO, things like that. And then within those, requirements, make the most beautiful website or logo or landing page or whatever as possible. And I think art directors need to be able to do that beyond anything else. Every art director that we hire has the skills to do it, but then they have to be able to communicate with the client, make a relationship with them, try to really ask the right questions, try to really understand what they're trying to achieve, and then bring their dream to life. And those are the best art directors that we have, or people who can successfully do that.
I don't mean to harp on this, but patience is an extremely important trait. I'll add to that though with anticipation and proactiveness. The agent's job is selling homes, and the more successful agents tend to be the least available. So be productive as possible in between correspondence and be prepared for your next interaction. Instead of just providing expected updates, try and get ahead with additional deliverables that you know are coming up anyway. Also, finish with a recap and what's next. I've worked with Cherry and RDM over the years, and this really sets the tone and puts the art director or project manager in a place where they have a lot more control. It's amazing how effective the little things like that can really make a difference.
Thank you, Luigi and Brian. Now, a lot of the skills that you mentioned and the traits that you just said are truly essential. But Apple, would you guys like to add more to that?
Yeah, so we will throw the same question to Tiger and Rachel. Guys, what are specific skills or characteristics do you think a person or people should have to complement the personality of high-end clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. If I could sum it up again in one word, it would be mirroring. It's copying the client, matching his pace. So in a lot of calls you have with a client, some clients talk very fast. Other clients talk really slow. So it's super important that they can relate to you and they can connect to you. And one way of doing that is through a little bit of psychology, right? People feel way more comfortable with you when they feel like they can relate to you at their same level. So it's super disarming when you match their energy. Their walls go down, right? And that's what you want to do in a conversation. Number two is that you want to break the pattern, right? So if you're in customer support, a lot of the times, they're calling in and they're saying, hey, can I talk to this person about solving my problem? They're expecting a customer support agent, right? Don't be that person. You want to go the other direction and you want to be somebody different. And when you're that different person, they're now talking to their template of a customer support person. They're now talking to a real person, right? And that's who you want to be, right? The third thing is you want to focus on them, right? So every client, whether you're a freelancer, whether you work in a BPO, they listen to one radio station and it's called Me FM, right? So they're focusing on themselves. So you also have to focus on them because that's part of your job. And when you're focusing on them, they feel like you're really listening to them, right? Number one. And you have to have this doctor mindset where, when you're in a doctor's office, right, they're just focusing on you as a patient. Treat your interactions with the client in the exact same way. The last thing I would say is repeat and rephrase. So when a client talks to you, right, another kind of, it's really science, trick and technique, if you might say, is that when they say, hey, I have this problem, you repeat it back and go, okay, great. I understand that you have this problem. And then suddenly, when you're repeating it back to them, they feel like they're understood. And you can end with, hey, does my solution work for you? Right? And it's a two-way conversation at that point. So if you manage that mirroring aspect of it, you can become really, really successful and take a long conversation and turn it into a very short one because they feel like they have that interaction. Rach, what's your experience there?
Yes, just to jump on that mirroring, that was also in one of my notes. Mirroring is a very important skill, but also to be able to be perceptive and very observant. Sometimes it's hard to, pick up on these cues if you're not meeting in person. So you need to kind of read in between the lines when it comes to your interactions with clients. Sometimes it's a very subtle change in tone. Sometimes it's a simple sigh on the phone, or even in an email. If you notice that they're not as cheerful as they, usually are, then sometimes that's a sign that you want to pick up on and, react accordingly. So being very observant in your interactions is important. Another skill, I guess, would be, I mean, this is cliche, but to be very organized whenever you, come to your client. You don't want to just throw ideas left and right. You want to make sure you have a game plan, that you're ready with steps 1, 2, and 3. You're actually 2 steps ahead, so that they can anticipate their needs and not be caught off guard, so that the ball is in your court and you're actually managing the conversation well. And I guess lastly, especially as Filipinos, just practicing communication, expanding your vocabulary, and keeping the conversation very professional, not so childish or not too chummy, I'd say. So you want to make sure that you have a high standard of delivering your message to people, and you can have an opinion but also know when to hold back. So just keep yourself in check.
Wow, I'm actually learning from this webinar. So, yes, make sure to relate to your client, make him or her comfortable, and then make sure to listen to your client's needs and wants and try to understand that. And at the same time, pay attention to details. Be aware of the signs and gestures, and remember to act accordingly. And finally, communication is key. And now it's time to go back to Julian.
Well, all of you have more than 2 decades of customer service experience, VIP customer service experience provided to U.S. clients. Now, I'm pretty sure it's not always a walk in the park, right? I'm sure you have come across difficult clients and even conflicts with clients. But my next question is for Des. I want to know if you have any tips for us to avoid reaching the point that there are escalations. Can you suggest to avoid escalations and conflicts with our clients?
Anytime I'm dealing with an unhappy client, and this is true in every industry, the first thing to do is listen. Let them talk, ask questions, and understand their pain points, and make them feel heard. A majority of the time when a client is unhappy, it's because they're not feeling heard or cared for. Next, assure them that you understand what they're unhappy about, and assure them that you will have a solution for them, or find someone who has a solution and get back to them. As long as they know you're working on it, I think most people would feel some relief immediately. And the last thing and most important thing is to follow up and follow through. If you tell a client you have a solution, like it's going to be fixed by Friday, then have it fixed by Friday. Or communicate how you'll be working on the solution if it can't be fixed by Friday. A client would rather hear in advance how you're working out the issue, and most likely will be understanding.
Now, I wonder how our Manila team addresses these kinds of situations. What do you think, Apple?
How about we ask Rachel specifically this question? Rachel, was there ever a time you had to deal with an escalation or a very difficult client? And if so, how were you able to respond to that or resolve that?
Gosh, escalations and difficult clients. I am very familiar with that, but only because I've been working with Agent Image clients for over 10 years now. So the odds of encountering irate clients is also up there. But for me, I mean, yes, I have encountered them, but I actually look forward to them because I take it on as a challenge to turn them around. To address it, I mean, usually we have experts who can talk to clients when they're really irate and the stress level is up to here. So usually when they come to us, let's say your project manager or your art director, you can actually just focus on the problem at hand. Usually it's one of two things, like something was delivered late, or something was delivered that wasn't up to par with our standards. So usually you try to identify the root cause first of why they escalated in the first place. Figure out what really triggered them to complain in the first place. And what you want to do is actually respond to it in the complete opposite direction. So let's say if someone didn't get timely updates, try to over communicate just to compensate for that experience. Or let's say if they weren't happy with one, let's say, layout that you sent to them, maybe you want to show them a few options and over deliver in that respect. So it's really just turning things around and giving your extra effort. But recently I encountered like a escalated client was super super picky. Like they couldn't just they weren't happy with what we were giving them, so they wanted to control every aspect of the project. So we kind of had to meet them halfway. And it did require some effort on our part. Like there was some weekend overtime. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with difficult situations like that, sometimes you do need to put in the work. And that's what we did. And we checked in with the client every single day on a regular schedule. And we also instituted like a process of internal QA. So before we ever sent something to the client, we'd meet internally first and make sure we were all in agreement. And fortunately, this worked to our advantage. The client was very happy in the end. And I guess a welcome surprise was that the website actually won an award. So you don't lose hope. These situations are there to teach you something. And they can be rewarding in the end, especially if you can turn things around.
Totally agree with you, Rachel. Trying to use these challenges or escalation, difficult clients as motivation and challenge. And at the end, it might be difficult, it might be stressful, but the feeling is rewarding once you resolve that. Now, let's go back to Julian.
Now, Agent Image is the go-to web design and web development company of VIP clients, even celebrity clients in the US. In fact, I even see a lot of your clients on Netflix. What we're interested to know today is what are the common expectations of these VIP clients, and how do you ensure that these expectations are met?
Celebrity realtors in the US, not only are they successful, not only are they multimillionaires, but they're also on TV. So, whatever expectation of our VIP clients, you multiply that times 10. In fact, some of us give our cell phone numbers. People will call them at any time of the night. I mean, the level of customer service kind of goes up here when we get to that type of clientele. And that's what they expect, because that's how they deal with their clients, and that's kind of how they expect their vendors to work with them. So if they need something done, you basically do it, and you do it as quickly as possible. You try to resolve things as quickly as possible, and again, you try to be proactive. You try to set expectations. You try to communicate as much as possible, and you make yourself as available as possible to them as you can.
Now, please indulge us just a little bit more. John, would you mind sharing to us any experiences or maybe instances that delivered a wow reaction from a client?
Had a lot of these actually over the years, especially dealing with the clientele that Brian and I deal with day in and day out. One today actually comes to mind. We just recently launched a site for the #1 cold banker team in the entire US, and the biggest team by far in Florida. And this was a project that Brian, Cherry, and the team worked on for the better part of 6 months, I'd say. And it's interesting. The site is one of, if not the nicest website I think we've ever developed or designed in 20 years. It's that powerful and it's that beautiful. But we decided to do something for them because of how much time went into it and how much effort they put in back. A lot of the time we're the ones doing a lot of the heavy lifting, a lot of the work in any project, but they had a whole team there who were actually really integral to giving us feedback and giving us direction and helping us along the way to really build this site out and make it what it is. And those collaborations are really the ones that are memorable. Those are the ones that actually really stand out. And some of the best sites, you look at O Group that took best website last year on Real Trends. It was the same idea. So much love and care went into that from both sides, and so much energy and attention to detail. So this time at the end of this project, we sent them a really nice gift basket and flowers and just something we kind of thought of like, it's a whole team of people. What can we get them that would be kind of neat and sort of just to congratulate them, because we felt like not only did they put a lot of work into it, as did we, but I think one thing that isn't often talked about is how grateful I am or we are for the clients we have, right? Because these clients can go anywhere. The clients that we work with can choose to have a website or branding done by really any company in the industry. So when somebody chooses us or selects us, especially a team like that, and a lot of these VIP clients, that's a huge honor. And with it comes a ton of responsibility to do their brand justice and to make them really stand out among their peers on a listing presentation or in their market, and in their market rather. So this was just something that we felt, let's do something a little extra just to sort of thank them for all their hard work in helping to develop and design the site too, and for caring so much. And they were just really blown away by it. We got an email just hours before I'm filming this that was just so grateful for that and so grateful for our work and how happy they are with the website and how many compliments they're already getting on it. And it was just a very gracious, kind email. And things like that, gestures like that go a long ways. So it doesn't have to be that. It can be going above and beyond to work through several design revisions till they get what they want. I've seen clients have some issues in production, get frustrated at the timeline sometimes, only to see their website launch and all's forgotten and forgiven. They're so happy with, no matter how long it took, they're just blown away by the end product. At the end of the day, they're commissioning us to build their entire digital image and to build their brand online. And it really is commissioning an artist to paint a one-of-a-kind portrait and picture of them and their business. So, but yeah, instances like that, and kind of hearing emails or calls from clients when their site launches and just how blown away they are, or they got a $30 million listing because someone saw their website and was just that blown away by it. There's so many of those instances, but yeah, there's been a bunch, but that one comes to mind, and I thought it'd be a good one to share today.
Fantastic story, John. Thank you very much for sharing that. And you know what? We definitely learned a lot today, and nothing but the best tips from you guys. And I'm pretty sure everyone who's watching would have taken a thing or two or learned a thing or two from this discussion this morning, because I know I did. So with that, we would like to thank you, John, Luigi, Desiree, and Brian. Thank you for sharing your best practices with us. And for those of you who are watching and could not get enough of this discussion, Tiger, Rachel, Apple, and myself are still going to be live to do a Q&A with you guys. So for the meantime, I'll turn you over back to Apple.
Thank you, Julian, and a big thank you to the Agent Image US Core team. Alam nyo, para sa mga viewers natin, treating all clients like VIPs is not that hard at all. You just heard how listening, setting proper expectations, standards, and constant communication can go a long way when it comes to building better and lasting relationships. And so, if you have any questions, tulad ko na medyo madaming-dami ang tanong, feel free to comment it on our Facebook Live or YouTube. And maybe our Manila panelists can give clarifications and answers to that. Pero syempre, tulad ng lagi, mauuna muna ako magtanong. And I want to ask, Tiger, so we live in a day and age where everyone is on their mobile phones. They are on their computers, always online. Does this also affect the way people want to receive services? I mean, gusto ba ng clients ng more technologically based communication or less?
Yeah, that's a very good question, especially in this day and age, right? The communication platforms and channels have just increased. I'll give you an example. I have one client who just contacts me on LinkedIn messaging. That's it. It's the most random thing, right? So instead of email, which was very traditional, suddenly you can contact people on WhatsApp or Viber or Instagram, Facebook. It's crazy. So I think the general rule for me is something I learned from a movie and my partner Luigi, which is Zombieland. I don't know if you guys watch it. It's Zombieland 2 now. But one of the major rules there is double tap. Okay, so if you contact a client, make sure that you do it twice. If you talk to him on the phone or her on the phone, you email at the same time. So I think that's one rule. The second rule that I have is talk to them where they feel comfortable, right? So in that LinkedIn example, for example, he feels comfortable there. I'm not trying to change where I talk to him now. I don't try to change that to the phone. I don't try to change that to email. If he feels good on LinkedIn, great. I'm going to contact him there. A third thing I'd like to discuss is that you always want to over communicate. And I think Rachel can attest to this. You never hear a client say that you've talked to them too much, that you've updated them too much. That's really, really rare. In fact, you always hear the reverse. I'm not getting any updates. Can you please tell me what's going on, right? So I think also as Pinoys, there's a hesitancy. Like I feel like I'm intruding on your time, and I don't want to call and email and send a WhatsApp. When the reality is, from a North American perspective, that's exactly what they expect. They want to be talked to like that. Wait for them to tell you to stop, in fact. And I think they'll actually appreciate you for that. And you're delivering a service level that is wow, like kind of what we were talking about earlier. Rach, what do you think?
Yes, actually, I had that same hesitation when I was still starting out. Siyempre, Pinoy, mahiyain, di ba? Parang you don't really feel like speaking your mind right away, especially to a stranger or to a person that you just met. But no, they actually expect that high level of communication with you. And just to answer Apple's question about, do clients prefer more tech-based communication? I actually kind of say yes and no. I guess the no part is, you also don't want to overwhelm your clients with so much technology and so many tools. I mean, there can be, let's say if you're working, with web projects, you're working with like maybe 4, 5, 6 different tools, and, you're having, different kinds of links that you want to send them. You want them to log in, register, sign in. Sometimes they actually don't have the time to do that. So you want to simplify the process as much as possible. If you can kind of, get them in the door and like give them steps 1, 2, 3, that's it. That's so much better than you having them to jump through hoops just to get what you're trying to say. So, but yes, to the frequency, sometimes just a quick check-in or a touch base call, as we usually call in Agent Image, it really helps and it goes a long way. Being able to acknowledge receipt of, let's say, something that they just sent to you, just say, got it. And usually that really helps, just to reassure them that, there's someone listening on the other line.
Ito naman, when it comes to building rapport during a phone or an online conversation, what is a better alternative to the say, what's the weather today, or how's the weather today?
Yeah, that's a good question. You don't want to get in these canned responses too often. Again, you want to do something that's unexpected so they don't feel like they're dealing with a script, right? The moment people feel, especially when you're dealing with North American clients, that you're on a script, they turn off, right? So get off the script. Be yourself, be genuine. I think one example is that I use a lot is, hey, it's Tiger Bitanga calling. How are you? Really simple. How have you been? Right? It's very personal. I know it sounds like it's too simplistic but to be true, but it actually is fine. It's way better than saying, how's the weather? Right? Let them begin with a story about themselves. Maybe something personally happened, and you can comment on that before you get directly into business. You don't want to come off as this person that's also all business, right? You want to come off as a human being on the other line of the phone or the other line of a Google Meet. So, Rach, I don't. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've never said that phrase before. How's the weather? Or nor have I heard it from any of our clients. But yeah, just asking, how are you? How are you today? What's up? Sometimes it's that casual. Yeah, just keep things natural. Don't try to force it, just because someone gave you that advice before. I mean, no. Be more genuine, candid, and honest.
I personally want to know your suggestion or advice on this. How can I manage, or how do I deal with chatty clients?
Okay, yeah, that's actually a good thing, though, right? If you're getting a response from a client and you're not just getting yes or no answers, that means you've built rapport, right? They feel comfortable enough to talk to you, and that's what you want to do anyway in the situation. You want them to talk a lot, and you want to talk less. Now, there are times when it's overly chatty. You're trying to get to another meeting or whatever it may be, right? So what you have to do is guide the call, right? And you don't guide it abruptly. It's just a slight turn to the left, a slight turn to the right. Let's get back to topic, and it's as simple as that. Hey, let's get your design done today. I need to get these notes over to our developer or designer so we can hit your deadline by next week. That's a really very casual way to get them back into that line of thinking that we want to accomplish something out of this call.
Now, for my next question, maybe Rachel can answer this question. Now, how do you deal with difficult customers or difficult situations or unhappy customers? How do you manage a customer who knows it all and make him or her listen to your suggestions?
Well, if you're dealing with, those challenging clients, I'd say, first of all, you don't really want to ride on the same level. Let's say if they're already talking fast or if they're upset, the last thing you want to do is kind of be defensive or, combat them with a response. Sometimes, holding back a little bit and just let them, say what they want to say, let it all out, and then, on the side, just take down your notes before you jump in with a, response. If they're kind of difficult, let's say if okay, so let's say if they don't really know what they want, then you have to guide them along. But if they are upset about something, try to be as understanding as possible, and just be a listening ear to them. If they are, trying to steer the conversation in a difficult direction, just be very patient with them, and offer options to move forward. Basically, you want to direct the conversation to the next step. What are we going to do next? So that they actually have that peace of mind and reassurance that you're taking good care of them.
This next question can actually be debatable, but I want to know your opinion. Is the customer always right? Always the question.
Yeah, that's a great question, and the answer is no. The customer is not always right, and there's really two situations when that comes into play. Number one is that you're an expert, right? They hired you to do something that you have expertise at, and without being threatening or aggressive, you have to remind them that that's why you're here. And like I'm a designer, right? So I'm going to come from that background. But this applies to really anything that you're doing in freelancing, right? Or anything that you're doing in a BPO or call center, right? But when it comes to my designs, the number one thing I'm going to do is whether I designed it or I had a design team come in, is I'm going to defend the designs. That's the number one thing. Half of the clients that come in say, hey, I want to copy this design because it won awards or whatnot. And I just want to change the picture and the color. That's it. And as a designer, you don't want to be a yes man. Okay, got it, do it, right? For them to come back and for you to build a long lasting relationship, you want to be to somebody who says, yes, we could do that, but why don't we offer something new and become original and become award winning and become a unique brand rather than a copy of somebody else? And that's really what they want to hear. Sometimes you think that that's not what they want to hear. They want you to debate them in an intelligent fashion. They don't want a robot who's just going to take orders.
And so, since we agree that the customer is not always right, then is there a good way to say no to a client?
Yeah, I would say that offer alternatives, right? That's the best way to do it. You don't have to say no directly. You can say, why don't we try this and show that.
And now on delivering naman amazing customer experience, do we have to be online and ready to answer customers or clients' questions all the time? As in, do we have to be available 24/7? Is that necessary?
Uh, I'm gonna try to take a stab at it, and then maybe Rich can follow up. But my answer depends on your role, right? In sales, yes, you have to be available all the time, right? And why is the answer yes? Is because people have so many options now. They're looking on a Google search, right? And if you're not answering today or this minute, then they're off to the next person. It's not like it was 10 years ago, right? So you have to be there, right? And be able to answer that right away. I think Luigi also answered this earlier, which is on a VIP level, you also have to be available right away, especially for clients. Also have other clients that are, they're available all the way. Their expectation is you're available all the time, right? Now, if you work in a place that has set hours, I think most clients will respect that. And if you show them that you're not available, that you're available after hours, then they're always gonna expect that. So you have to make sure work within your boundaries, right? Rach, what do you think?
Yes, setting expectations basically. If you know that you're not going to be able to reply to emails or answer calls within a certain time, go ahead and let them know right away. Don't, just turn on your autoresponder and cross your fingers, because, they will contact you for certain things, time and time again. So just make sure to communicate when you will be available and when you won't be available. So at least you have that level of transparency and, reliability. I've fallen into the trap that Tiger mentioned earlier of being available 24/7, because I especially like that project that I was working on. So I enjoyed working into the weekends and holidays. Unfortunately, I know that's not a healthy way to go about things, especially when you're juggling so many projects all at once. So just set the right expectations. Try to be as accommodating as you can be. I mean, obviously, you don't want to dismiss your client just for contacting you on an off hour. And sometimes it also revolves around certain key milestones or events that are related to what you're working on. So let's say if there's a website and it's going to be launched, obviously that's an all hands on deck type of scenario where you want to be, online, you want to be available. Or let's say if, let's say a celebrity client has a TV show that's premiering and they want to feature the website. So obviously you need to kind of have a different approach for situations like that. But yeah, in general, do your best. But we're all human. We can't always be online 24/7. That's not realistic. So just do your best.
Now, talking about valuable customer service lessons, what are some tips for working remotely in customer service?
Yeah, I would say number one thing is you always have to shift from blame to the solution. For Rachel's right earlier, sometimes you just have to let your customer talk, let them exhaust all of that energy, and from there you can now offer the solution, and uh, you know get out of the place where they're pointing fingers. And also, you want to be separate from the problem, right? Okay, there's the problem, there's a solution. You're not the problem. Okay, don't let that be attached to you. You're actually the person that's going to help them solve the problem. And sometimes when you associate yourself as the problem, or they are associating yourself with the problem, you turn defensive. So, but mentally, you have to put yourself in a place that those are two different things, and you'll be really successful. And you can now steer it back away from that emotional part of it.
So, since Tiger, you already mentioned or touched on emotions, how do you manage emotions during a difficult customer interaction or situation? Because sometimes, you just you you just want to burst out there. But how do you manage your emotions?
I'm going to defer to Rach. What do you think? You do this way more than me.
Yes, well, I guess I'm more in touch with, emotions because I'm also dealing with lots of creatives, lots of designers, and, on the clients and like marketing assistants, creative directors as well. Everyone's kind of invested in their work. So it's inevitable to encounter certain scenarios where feelings get hurt, or a client says like, I hate the design, or I hate everything about it, just start over. So it really takes a lot of courage to enter conversations like that. Keep a strong face. Make sure that for the duration of your conversation or that interaction, that you're not going to respond defensively. So just take it, and also take it constructively as best you can. Try to learn from it and see what you can take away from it. Maybe it's something you can improve on that you weren't able to. um but yeah, just be ready for the emotions. And I guess after the call, or after that interaction, that's when you can kind of decompress and understand what happened, and from there you can move forward.
We have a question from YouTube from Gianna Feliciano of Rizal. Hi, I have a question. Is small talk an effective way to build rapport with clients? Why or why not?
Small talk is absolutely an effective way to do it, and that goes back to rapport. Just have to make sure that the small talk, is relatable, right? We're obviously in the Philippines. A lot of your clients are overseas, so how do you make that small talk relatable to where they're at? So, for example, and this is might not be the best example, but there are a lot of fires recently in California, and if you're following the news where your client is, you can ask, hey, how are you? I mean, are you around that area? Do you see, the smoke? I've been looking at pictures online, and it's a great way to start that conversation and now move it into, your goal for that meeting.
For the next question, I think we touched on this already, but for Aditi Kapoor from Facebook, how do we engage clients in order to maintain a good relationship?
Rach, what do you think?
Just trying to be as available as possible, I guess. Trying to be very detailed with, let's say, if they asked you several questions, try to, address each of those items. I mean, we don't really have the luxury of having to meet, face to face sometimes, or in person. So we really need to kind of take note of the details that we get through online communication, whether that's email, sometimes through chat, or sometimes you have a tasking platform where you can leave notes. Try to maximize the tech as part of communicating with your clients. And yeah, just try to be available and stay in touch. Address what they need, provide what they need.
Now, let me ask Julian this time. A question from Rudy Rojas from Facebook. He is from Cubao. Paano yung mga pa-VIPs ang gatekeepers? Is there a different approach when dealing with them?
Hi, Ronnie. Well, that's a very interesting question, and you know what? We get a lot of these days, especially that we are in a very important situation, or we are in a very unique circumstance. But I guess the best thing to do about that is to make sure that even when they are just pub VIP and not necessarily VIP, you make them feel like they are. I think this is something that John also mentioned earlier, and Luigi. Regardless of whoever you're speaking to, may it be a celebrity, or just your normal run-in-the-mill client, make sure that you listen to them, understand what they need. The focus is always going to be on them. Suppress any judgment that you may have on this client, and just focus on resolving what needs to be resolved.
To answer that question.
Yes. Well, I mean, because in real estate, I mean, usually they're a community or a circle. They kind of know each other, so they also compare themselves with other agents as well. So they always, want that same experience of, let's say, a VIP celebrity client, and it's very difficult to provide, a high level of, and I guess treatment for every single client. We try, But yeah, just making sure that they are heard. Try to empathize as much as possible with where they're coming from and why they want to succeed. Really bad. Why do they want that special treatment? It's really coming from a good place. They just want to improve their business, and as long as you can see through that and not just roll your eyes and say, "Nah, oh gosh, just another feeling important person." No, treat them as legitimate clients who actually need your help, and hopefully you can adjust your communication style from there and not just take it for granted.
And now our final question of the day is coming from Mia Mejia from Marikina via YouTube. As a beginner in sales, I understand the importance of building rapport with clients in establishing a long-term relationship with them. But sometimes I find it hard to keep the conversation flowing and there's just dead air. Ha ha ha. There's ha ha ha. But can you give me any advice on how to go about this?
Yeah, that's a great question. Number one is that you usually can set the time and date where you meet the client, right? And when you can set the time and date, that means you can prep yourself for the dead air, right? So you can fill that with other agenda items. Just make sure that you just follow that step-by-step guide. And it's really funny because one of our top sales guys back in the day was really interesting. So what he would do is he'd have his screen like this, right, like that, and then he puts post-it notes all over around the screen. And there's probably like 100 different post-it notes, different colors. And whenever there's dead air, he just picks a post-it note and he hits it, and that's usually an experience with another client. It's a question to ask that was successful before for him. And I thought that was a really interesting way to do sales because this guy was making 100 calls a day and he was pulling in really big numbers in sales. And I'm always interested by that because when you have a big sales team, you want to see what makes them different, what makes them tick, and why they're so successful. And for me, you could just tell by looking at this particular guy's desk. His name is Jack, by the way. That he was doing a completely different system than everybody else. So that's my answer to that question.
How about Rachel? Any thoughts on that? Any advice?
Um, I mean, for me, I'm personally an introvert. I also have a very difficult time trying to generate that small talk and keep things going. So I kind of follow Tiger's advice there. I just stick to the agenda. I actually sometimes create like an email draft with talking points that you want to bring up. And if find that there's a lull in the conversation, just go back to it. If you don't really have a chatty client, you don't have to force it. You can cut the conversation short and move on to more productive things. But yeah, just trying to be ready in case, or just following the flow of the project or whatever you're working on. Create a bullet list, and that should help.
How about you, Julian? Your take on this?
Well, I agree with Tiger that preparation is always key. If you have already set it up prior to the final date of your meeting or the conversation, you would know that there has been some events that happened probably over the weekend, or you might want to ask your client some purposeful small talk that can relate to things that is happening to the client. Maybe ask them what has been up with you since the last time that we spoke, or by the way, there are some new updates to the items that you've ordered, or to the account that we're setting up for you. So things like that. It has to be something that is related to what they want to happen. But again, if the client is really not up for a small talk, like what Rachel said, we don't really have to force it.
Mm-hmm. But wait, there's more. We have a pahabol question from Nathan De Gia via YouTube. If I want to go through a user-centric approach to my designs, how do I do that when B2B clients or employers want stuff within 2 to 4 hours or a day? Rachel?
This is all about setting expectations, really. I mean, usually before you accept a project, you know the deadlines, or you should know the deadlines. It's not really advisable to accept a project blindly without having some background or understanding as to what you're going to deliver and when you're going to deliver it. So, I guess having that conversation with the client before any work is done, that's very important. Make sure to set the right expectations that you can only deliver a certain number of hours per week. And also, if you're able to give your specific schedule, that will also set the expectation that you are not, on call. You're not like a doctor or a frontliner where you have to, drop everything you're doing to deliver something. So just make sure to clearly communicate your availability and get their confirmation that that's okay, and that should set you on the right track to, a worry-free, stress-free, more positive interaction with your client.
Well, it's really all about I don't know. I don't want to harp on this because, but this is really what we can expect as an answer. Expectations. It goes a long way. Setting correct expectation. You don't want to spread yourself too thinly by providing an impossible acceptance of deadline. You don't have to always say yes to everything. You could probably tell your client that we don't want to give you a website that was done just for the sake of doing it, right? So let the client know that this is the time that you require to set up a good website. And if you provide the alternatives, if you provide a good reason for it and a valid reason, I'm pretty sure they would understand.
All right, and that concludes our Q&A and our discussion on the VIP treatment, building rapport with U.S. clients, and more. I'd like to thank Tiger, Rachel, and Julian. Thank you very much, guys, for all your
You.
tips, your advice, and insights. Maraming salamat. And of course, would like to thank our viewers who joined us today. Again, if you are not part of the Tao Crowd community yet, ano pa ang hinihintay nyo after hearing all those things? We have more to offer. Again, if you're not part of the Tao Crowd community yet, just visit www.taocrowd.com. Just sign up, get started, and experience the many benefits of being our Tao Crowd partners. So I hope you enjoyed today's webinar, our topics, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again on our next Tao Tuesday. My name is Apple David. Have a nice day, everyone.